Welcome back to another episode of The Deep Dig. We're in Matthew 4:12, and this is when Jesus is choosing some followers. 4:19 says, Jesus said, "Come follow me, and I will make you fish for people." So Simon and Andrew immediately left their nets and followed him. I always thought these verses were strange, the fact that they just dropped everything and went with him with really no explanation. And so I did some more research and I found out this wasn't exactly the case. If you read Luke and John, you will find a backstory, and you'll find that the apostles already knew Jesus and they already had a relationship with John the Baptist. If you read John 1:35 through 42, it describes a scene where it's the day after Jesus was baptized by John the Baptist. And Andrew is with John the Baptist. John the Baptist looks at Jesus and says, "That is the Lamb of God." Andrew follows Jesus and they get to know each other, spend some time with each other. Andrew goes to get his brother Peter, brings Peter to Jesus and introduces him, and Jesus changes his name from Simon to Cephas, which means Peter. That is what's going on in John 1:35 through 42. So before the verse in Matthew that says the disciples just dropped everything and followed Jesus, Peter and Andrew had already known Jesus. They had already met him and spent some time with him. Andrew and maybe Peter were already followers of John the Baptist before they met Jesus. And remember, John the Baptist is Jesus' cousin. So who knows if they had met Jesus even before that at an earlier time. So Luke 5:1 through 11 describes the boat scene. And the boat scene is what I mean is when the Andrew, Peter, James, and John dropped everything and followed Jesus. But you get more details in the beginning of Luke 5:1 through 11. And in this scene, Jesus had a large group of people following him, and he had a lot of people pressing up against him, it said. So he got in Peter's boat and asked Peter to push off, and he continued to teach the people on the shoreline from Peter's boat. Once he was done preaching, he told Peter to throw the net into deeper water. Peter said that they had already been fishing all day, they couldn't find anything, but he'll do it anyway because that's what Jesus told him to do. And he pulled up so many fish that it almost sunk the boat. Then Peter called for his partners to come over. His partners were James and John, the sons of Zebedee, and they threw their nets in and brought up so many fish that the boats almost sank. So, after knowing Jesus, hearing about him, being the follower of his cousin John the Baptist, and spending some time with Jesus, and then seeing him again preach on their boat, and then performing a miracle, after all that, then it says they followed Jesus once they got back to the shoreline. So I'm not trying to discredit Matthew and Mark's Gospels. They're both true, chronologically correct in the order of events that they talk about. I'm just saying that there's more to the story in Luke and John. That might be because the first three Gospels are called Synoptic Gospels, which means they're written in a similar way. You can put them side by side and compare them easily. Someone said that they're sort of written as like a teacher teaching a history class. But John's book and part of Luke is more of like personal experience with Jesus. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I definitely enjoyed figuring out what exactly happened on the shoreline of Galilee with the fishermen, Peter, Andrew, James, and John, and exactly what happened leading up to the event when they decided to follow Jesus. Once again, I'm not a preacher. This is just things I thought were interesting while I was reading the Bible, and I hope that you learned something, and please like and subscribe.